Good evening. Welcome to another exciting episode of History Bluffs, where truth is stranger than fiction. I want to welcome right now to your screen to the man in the box in front of you. It's Chris. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on History Bluffs for the week of January 19th, 2022. We are very happy to have you join us. Very exciting show tonight. Very exciting show. And let's just get right to that. I want to welcome in our three contestants who are going to dazzle you with their brilliance or baffle you with their you-know-what. Because this show, we seek to determine which of our contestants are bluffing and which are actually history bluffs. I'm sorry, buffs. History buffs or history bluffs. So, with that being said, let's bring in our first contestant, and that is going to be Miss Gina Hunter. Please welcome Gina Hunter to the stage.
Hello, how are you, Chris?
I'm doing well, Gina. How are you?
Good. I'm excited. I'm ready to go.
Very happy to have you here. Gina, quick question for you. So let's get the audience a chance to get to know you.
Sure.
What if you could go back in history, what era would you either visit or live in?
1800s, for
1800s.
sure. Yeah.
All right, 1800s. And would that be 1800s in America or 1800s in Europe?
I didn't think about that far, but I do know I would be a courtesan.
Okay. Yeah. All right, cool. So, welcome everyone to Gina. Next
Unless
up,
I'm not sure what that exactly means, but I think I do. Now I think that might be a hooker. Not a hooker, like a, I don't know. Anyway, keep going.
It's not a hooker. Ladies and gentlemen, please now welcome Alan Forbes to the stage.
Hello.
Hello, Alan. How are you?
Thank you. I'm well. How is everyone out there in the internet?
I think everyone. I can speak for myself in my little corner of this universe. I'm doing well. So therefore, by projection, I think most people are doing well.
Good to hear.
He's claustrophobic in the wires, though. That's why you always do wireless.
Alan, quick question for our audience to get to know you. If you lived in a different era, what name would you go by instead of Alan?
Oh, wow. I'd go by Biffy.
Biffy?
Yeah.
And I'm sure whatever era that was in, you would be unique with the name Biffy.
I can't think of an era when that was a commonplace name. So yes.
No,
sure.
Not at all. And I'd also wager that whatever era it was in, you'd successfully sell peanut butter with that Biffy.
Probably, yes.
Jiffy.
I'd go back in time. No, but I'd go back in time to before they made a Jiffy.
That's right.
And then I would be the cornered marketplace.
That is correct. So, our third and final contestant, please give it up for Carlos Rivera.
Hello, Internet. Hello, Biffy. Hello, 18th century hua.
And Carlos, our audience got to know you pretty quickly just from those opening statements, but a little deeper dive for you, my friend. What job would you have in another era?
Oh.
Era? I would be a DJ.
DJ?
Oh, yeah, right. That's right, which would be very challenging in the period before power and before records and before all that. So really, I have a lot of free time on my hands. So it was like, what's your job? I'm a DJ. Like, what? DJ. What is that? It's like, you'll find out.
I see him. He spins a lot of things, but we don't hear anything.
I would conduct orchestras. I'd be like, play, stop, you play now, you play, stop, both of you, right there, we're mixing. That's now you go down left side of the orchestra, you come up.
And they would crouch down and come back up, and I don't know why he wants us to do this, but
don't tell Carlos that's a conductor.
That's right.
DJ.
That's a very, very good answer, Carlos. For me, I was thinking for myself, I'd probably want to be like a surgeon in like the 1500s, just to, I imagine it was a very experimental time, and I'm just like, I always wondered, like, how drunk was the first guy that let one of his buddies cut open his knee to noodle around and see if he could fix it? I would like to be that guy. Say, let me try that. That would be interesting. Yeah. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, these are our three contestants: Gina, Alan, and Carlos. And now one of them is going to be our history bluff and try to deceive you all this evening. And the other two are our history buff with they're going to show their command of historical facts. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big welcome to our tech and master of technical ceremonies tonight, Adam Bell.
Oh, hey, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate
Adam,
it.
thank you so much. And Adam, if you'd be so kind, would you put up, I'm going to tell our contestants what our topic is here right now. And then while we're doing that, they are going to have a couple of minutes to do some research. And they're going to look up some information on this topic. And we ask you watching and at home, please do not use the internet search engines of any sort to put up any information in our comments or anything. Keep that to yourselves. And also, it's just more fun that way for you to try to guess which one of these folks are telling the truth and which one is the bluff for the evening. So with that, Adam, I'm going to tell the topic here. And I don't know which one of them is going to be the bluff. Adam knows. Adam's the only one. Him and the bluff are the only two people who know which one is.
You don't know?
I don't know. So it's going to be, I don't know. So
all right, let's hear the topic, Chris.
The topic is clip. C-L-I-P. Clip.
Clip is the
topic. Clip. So Adam, if you would please put up the rules on screen, and I'll briefly go through those for the audience. And here's just a reminder to the audience and to any of the contestants if they've forgotten the rules. But they get 2 minutes for research. They can take notes. They're right now looking up information on Clip, and they're deciding what story or historical facts about Clip they're going to share with us. They can only completely lie or completely tell the truth. They can reference real people, real names, etc., but they can't have a half-truth as their story. It's got to be either a complete lie or a complete truth. And they cannot use the audience for help. This is not, they don't get a lifeline. They don't get a call a friend. None of that information, none of that is available to them. So they cannot use the audience for help. They are strictly on their own. And these are, we have highly intelligent contestants. So they are totally fine being on their own. And they are also very confident in where they are in life. So they're completely confident and able to be alone. They don't depend on anyone. So having said that, Adam, would you take us back? So have you guys had enough time, as I vamped there for a couple of minutes, to look up some information on Clip? And with that, so ladies and gentlemen, how the game works is we're going to have 3 rounds of information given to us by each of the contestants. And the first round will be the longest round. They'll have 75 seconds in the first round to tell us the beginning of their story. We'll go through each of them in their storytelling. And then in round 2, we'll condense that time down to 1 minute to give us the crux of the story, the middle of their story. And then in round 3, we will get a quick synopsis, a brief wrap-up in 30 seconds from each of the contestants. And at that time, we will make some decisions on who we believe is bluffing and who we believe are telling the truth. So, yes, with no further ado, let us begin tonight's festivities. I'm going to start in the same order that we started the introductions. Gina, I'm going to have you go first in round 1. And time starts now.
Okay. Hi, everybody. With the topic of Clip, I chose to do something about birds because you know how they clip their wings, especially for the household domesticated birds. But that's slightly related to the story, and I'll tell you why in a moment. The story centers around a gentleman named Valente Pistano. Valente Pistano was a businessman in New York. He lived in the late 1800s, my favorite era, and he lived actually in New Jersey, in East Orange, New Jersey, and he would take a train to the ferry. He would take the ferry to New York, and then he would go to work in Manhattan. And the reason that's important is for the rest of the story. So at home, so he was a businessman in New York, but he had a hobby, and his hobby was to raise exotic birds, such as parrots, cockatiels, things like that. His parrots were very smart. They were very trained. They were very well known. He also had pigeons on the top of his roof. So he had some pigeons, and he had a couple of them that were trained as homing pigeons. I wish that lent itself a little more to the story, but it doesn't. So one day, and so in his neighborhood, started to become a lot of vagrancy. And so when that happened, some people started to steal some of his pigeons off of the roof. And so what happened next is the rest of my story.
All right. Thank you very much, Gina, for that story. Alan, let's jump to you real quick for a comment on Gina's story. Is her story flying with you?
Well, we sure took a long time to get to clipping wings because we still hadn't heard anything about it. So I don't know. She might have been stalling so that she could fill in a pack of lies.
Interesting. Good take. All right, Carlos, let's see. Carlos, you live in Chicago. Valente Pistano sounds, it's a very new, I'm from New York. It's a very New Jersey name, Do you give any credence so far to the facts that you've heard from Gina?
Well, in Chicago, we have pigeons, and pigeons poop a lot. And it makes sense that Gina's talking about pigeons because I smelled a lot of poop coming from her store.
All right.
It doesn't pass the smell test. And as Alan pointed out, I didn't get where we are. I thought we were talking about clipping.
Well, did I not mention that the parrot's wings were clipped?
Okay. We'll let Gina have a chance to get to that part of the story later on. But now we're going to jump over to Alan for his opening in his round one. Alan, you have 75 seconds on the clock, and your time starts now.
My clip is the paper clip. And there's a bit of history behind the paperclip that we all know and love. It's been around since before any of us were born. In fact, the earliest paperclip was believed to be in Gina's favorite era, the 1800s. 1867 is the guesstimate of when it was first. Actually, there was a patent. There was a patent that was in 1867 for someone. However, the paperclip that we commonly know today was likely back in the 1870s by the Gem Company, and they made that popular, curvature of the paperclip. Now, the original use of the paperclip wasn't entirely just to fasten two papers together. It was to fasten a ticket to fabric. Now, I guess back in the 1800s, they also had dry cleaners. I don't know, but I'm not researching about dry cleaning. I'm researching about clips. Anyway, I yield the remainder of my time.
All right. Alan, thank you for getting us a little bit ahead of schedule there. Alan yields the remainder of his time. Carlos, he mentioned that this was invented in 1867. Right around, just shortly after the Civil War ended. Do you think people were fighting about paper clips back in 1867?
That's right. They were writing all those letters that Ken Burns talks about in his documentaries, but there were multiple pages and how they keep them together. They needed clips in the States and in Europe to say, hey, we got a market for our paper clips now, I guess. Unless Alan's story is BS. Because, I think, isn't that a clothespin? The thing that pins things to clothes? Isn't there already a thing for that? And it's called a clothespin or a pin? It's not a paper pin.
Safety pin.
Right.
A safety pin. Thank you, Gina, the other possible liar. You see, so Alan's story falls short. How would they, the curve and
He's not buying it.
We didn't have paper back then. I question that.
Gina, let's get you on here real quick because Carlos very deftly put you and Alan in the same category of other liars. So how do you respond first to that comment and then to Alan's story?
Well, I've been known to lie once or twice in my life, sometimes even on this show, but who knows?
Alan's story?
I was super intrigued by Alan's story when he said it was in the 1800s, but then there was a point where he said, and I'm going to try to do almost the exact quote so that the studio audience can know what we're talking about. He goes, there was a patent. Yeah, a patent. As if he were discovering the story as it was going on. Like, this was put into a thing that was invented, a patent. If I say patent, of course it will lend credibility to my story, and the people in the audience will not think I'm bluffing. And then equally fastened together, get it, into that story was the idea that maybe there were dry cleaners in the 1800s. I don't know, because that makes me feel confident in your story. Super confident.
Your story sounded patently false.
All right.
He's my guest now, but we have not heard Carlos. So
we have not heard Carlos yet. No,
that's right.
He's still out.
The only other person than you.
One thing, Gina, about Alan's delivery there, maybe he's just simply a big fan of John Lovett.
Yeah.
That's the ticket.
Yeah, Patton. Carlos, let's get Carlos up on screen. Moving right along, we'll get Carlos up here for his round 1 75-second slot. And Carlos, please regale us with your story. Your 75 seconds begins now.
Okay, so the topic is clip. That made me think of clippers, like hair clippers, and that made me think of barbers. And then I asked myself, well, when did barbarism start? And more importantly, who is the most famous barber? Who's one of the most famous barbers? And I came across a dude by the name of Ambrose Pare. Okay, from the 1500s, this dude was a barber surgeon, because back then barbers did like everything. Okay, so he was born in Bourg-Hersent, France, right? His father was a master carpenter, and that, I guess, that was such a good enough field that his father wanted both him and his brother to pursue a medical career. And their sister married a barber surgeon, so that business was already in the family. So, to prepare him for medicine, he needed to learn Latin, because back then you had to learn Latin to become a barber surgeon or a surgeon. But our boy Ambrose was not that great in Latin. He didn't do that great, but that didn't stop him. He's like, I'm still going to become an apprentice for a barber surgeon. I'm going to become a doctor. So then he moved to Paris to begin his apprenticeship.
All right. Well done, Carlos. Got in there right on time, right at that buzzer. You got that last point in there. Gina, who do you think is the more famous barber, Ambrose in Carlos' story, or the barber of Seville?
Seville, hello. That guy is, because Carlos' story is a fib, so that is, obviously this guy's more famous. I was just curious, barbarism? That's just... I think that started when the Greeks would name the people that were invading their country barbarians. But that's just my thing. I find it curious. Like I don't understand the leap from barbers to being barbers being surgeons. But I do know that people were, I guess, if you can cut hair, you can cut into a person's body. Is that the logic? And then, but what I don't understand is how the father, being a master carpenter, can lead them into pursuing a medical career. That just didn't make any sense to me. And so therefore I call bluff.
Jesus was a carpenter too.
He wasn't a surgeon though.
His children could have been.
Or was he?
But did he have children? Oh, we should do a 23andMe.
Alan, let's get you in here on Carlos' story. What are your thoughts on Carlos?
Well, I'm with all of you in knowing that the barber of Seville is the most famous barber, but second is definitely Sweeney Todd. I mean, come on. So
I thought that was the same.
Isn't it a different dude?
Probably.
I'm pretty sure those are different people.
Different people, guys. Different people.
Yeah, those are different people. Anyway, long story short, Carlos has yet to mention either Sweeney Todd or the Barber of Seville, so it's got to be sus.
I'm talking about facts, not fiction.
Oh, the Barber of Seville is a made-up story?
I'm pretty sure it is. It's just part of a song.
I think, Alan, that accusation cut Carlos to the bone on that one.
Hey.
So now we are going to move over to round number 2. And to our contestants, we are tightening up the time. You will now have 60 seconds in this round, and we're going to begin with Alan picking up his story about the paperclip. Alan, your round 2, 60 seconds begins now.
Yes. So, there was all these accusations said earlier about clips and pins and such. Well, they actually did market did market them as being better for your papers or fabric because it didn't mutilate their words, the fabric or the papers. So it was one of their marketing campaigns to point out, like, don't use those garbage safety pins. Don't use the clothespins, the past. Use this fancy schmancy invention we came up with called the paperclip. And so they did. And, they're still used today, which is some longevity. We're living in the 2020s. Gem was marketing these things back as early as the early 1900s. So do the math on that one. That's a successful patent as far as I'm concerned.
That's a successful patent indeed. And
here comes my time.
Once again, comes up short on time, or I should say in before the bell. Thanks to Alan for keeping us on schedule. And I have to admit, Carlos, to being somewhat gullible myself. Him using that old-timey voice probably made me buy his story a little bit more. Carlos, what are your thoughts on Alan's second round take?
I got a little distracted by the long-ass bell at the top of his thing. It went on for like 5 minutes, that bell sound. So I feel like Alan may have only spoken for 10 seconds between.
This particular sound effect weighs in at 16.72 seconds.
Wow.
My apologies.
So he starts at 16.72. He ends early. What did Alan say? He spoke like for 15 seconds about nothing because he has nothing. Gem is excitement. Whoa, Gem. Gem is not a paperclip company. Glamour and glitter, fashion and lies. Alan is truly outrageous. Truly outrageous.
Carlos
He is a misfit.
Carlos somehow thinks his stream got cross-connected with Monday Night Raw, so he's talking some trash to Alan.
I love it.
And but I'm just curious. I did not hear any bells, so I don't know what Carlos is talking about. But Gina, what's your take on Alan's story?
Well, I have a question for Alan. Alan, what was the first paperclip made from? The material?
Oh, the first material? I have to refer to my information here, but it's a bent wire.
No shit, Sherlock. What is it made of?
And
Metal.
Gina, interestingly, Sherlock Holmes did use paperclips, just so you know.
Fair, he did.
It's made of metal. What kind of metal, I cannot say as of right now.
All right, Gina, with that line of questioning, you scored a point from me, but let's have you jump. And there's no points, so it's.
Oh,
but
okay.
let's have you jump on screen, Gina. We're going to get your. I'm sorry. I'm going to switch this up. Carlos, let's get Carlos back on screen.
Oh, okay, great.
Carlos, we're going to have you start your round 2 story. Your 60 seconds begins now.
Okay. Thank you for the not long bell. Okay, so Ambrose Paré moved to Paris and began his apprenticeship under a master barber surgeon. Now, he wanted to go to lectures and stuff, but as part of the apprenticeship, he can't leave during office hours. He had to stay there and do all the menial tasks that he was asked to do. He also was trained between haircut and trims and clippings. He was trained on phlebotomy and leeching, which I guess is the surgery part of being a barber surgeon. And after several years of hard work and toil, he got his full-fledged diploma as a barber surgeon. Okay, so then he decides to go to a surgical trainee. He becomes a surgical trainee, and it's at a hospital that was built for the poor, or was a building built for the poor, but then the clerk, he turned it into a hospital, and he worked there for a while during one of the major outbreaks.
All right. Okay, Gina, let's get you back up here real quick. So the barber surgeon, or as I call them, the virgin, what do you think of that story?
I like that in the back then that we're allowing surgeons to be barbers, but they have to get a diploma. I just think that's great. Like, yes, yeah. Your barber can be a surgeon, but not without a diploma.
Well, they have high standards.
That was funny to me. And leeching is where they put leeches on to drain blood, so that they believed that would get rid of some of the toxins in your blood.
Oh, that's correct. Yes, indeed.
Look at me telling the truth on another story.
You're just clarifying some factual information. Alan, what did you think about Palais in Paris?
I think it's a very fascinating story, and that's all it is a story, a complete fabrication that could be clipped from the annals of time.
Okay. And Alan, I liked your allusion back to your own story with the fabrication there. Gina, let's get Gina up here on screen. Gina, please, your 60 seconds in round 2 begins now.
Okay, so one evening, Volante heard somebody outside. Sorry, I'm on the wrong page. Can I get please 5 seconds back on the clock?
Well, take Alan's 5 seconds.
Yeah, please do.
Okay. So one evening, there was a noise on the roof, and there was basically somebody trying to rob, steal the pigeons, and so Volante took out his pistol, shot the guy, and heard the thud, but then he was a little bit scared because he has neighbors, and so he was a little bit scared that people would hurt. So he waited until it was super, super, super late, went back up there and went to go get the body to dispose of it. And when he got there, he realized that he didn't shoot a human, he actually shot a cat. But he was still really upset that he just didn't want to be caught or have any suspicion on him because he was a very prominent businessman. And so what he did was he went through his mind, and he worked with his cook. They tried to figure out a way to dispose of the body. So he covered the body in butcher paper, and he wrapped it up, and he took it with him on the ferry the next day, and I'll tell you the rest of the story shortly.
Wow. All right, Gina, thanks for flying in there right on time. Carlos, what do you think of her cat burglar story?
Oh, that's fun. I don't think anyone from the past would care about killing any animal smaller than a bear. There was no PETA. They did not care. He would have left it there for the pigeons to eat.
Oh, interesting.
So that is clearly a fib.
All right, Alan, do you concur with Carlos?
Yes, and once again, Gina masterfully avoids the topic that we're all trying to cover, where I'm still wondering when the clip comes into relevance into any one of these revisits into her story.
Okay. Just real quick, I apologize for this housekeeping thing, but all three of you have told your second round story, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, I thought so. I just want to make sure I'm on the right track. So now we are going to move to round 3, and here we are going to wrap up in clips. And we begin with Carlos. Your 30 seconds begins now.
All right. Okay. All right. So his formal instruction in this clergy-run hospital was limited because they didn't actually believe or allow cutting into live people. So he could only learn from dead bodies. So obviously he needed more practice beyond this. So he eventually got into the French military. He couldn't get a surgery license because he never mastered Latin, but the military's like, yeah, you can be a surgeon in the military. We don't care. We need surgeons. So, oh my God, my time's almost out. So he helped with cauterization. He helped create the clamp that cuts blood vessels. He helped with opiates for pain after surgery. Wait, what happened to my time? All right. Okay, there you go.
You got an applause break.
There you go. There you go. There's the buzzer.
He brought a lot of pain reduction.
He did.
Yeah.
Surgery. Opioids. All right. Well done, Carlos. Well done. Gina, do you believe that this barber surgeon cut his teeth in the military?
I don't know, what is it? He needed a diploma, but he couldn't get a license. Like you said, he didn't. So it's just it doesn't scan. It doesn't scan. But what I will tell you, it made me laugh. So what you're trying to say is this guy Ambrose is responsible for the opioid crisis that we're in today?
No, not at all. That's not what
he didn't. Just in his defense,
didn't invent opioids. I mean, we would.
He introduced pain management, or at least he started people thinking, hey, we got to be cognizant of the pain our patients feel, because surgeons would just, once surgery was done, surgeons would not care. And he's like, no, we should make sure they're not, we should try to minimize their pain. And one of the ways to do it back in the 1500s was with opium, because that's what they had.
Well, that's good.
This was even before anesthesia was a thing.
The other part sounds very barbaric. The just letting him go.
It's the 1500. I don't know what to tell you. He helped. He helped get us from there to here.
All right, if it's true, if he really did. I mean,
all right, think about that, Noodle Bat, Gina. Think about that, and Alan, what do you think about Carlos?
Well, first of all, I love that Gina referred to a barber as being barbaric performing surgeries. Yes, that's where that comes from. But anyway, yes, it was interesting factoid or falseoid that Carlos said that a barber invented the cauterization, a technique still used today, as well as pain management through opioids, which is still used today. So it's all, wow, we owe it all to the good folks at Hair Cuttery and Supercuts.
Indeed. That's just part of the reason why I have shied away from visiting a barber in the last 18 months. Alan, let's get you back up here real quick, Alan, and let's get you to wrap up your story with your 30-second round three, and your 30 seconds begins now.
Well, just an addendum there. There's a little bit of controversy as to who invented the paperclip. Back in the early 20th century, there was a Norwegian who claimed that he invented the paperclip, and Norway was very adamant about their being the country that invented the paperclip. But there is still quite a bit of evidence that in the late 1800s it was invented in England, and the gem company was based out of England. So sorry, Norway, you lose.
Oh, wow. All right. Interesting. Thank you, Alan, for wrapping up on time. And Carlos.
I like the audience's reaction. I agree, audience.
Indeed. Carlos, what's your take on the Norway-England feud that still happens today in soccer?
That was the fakest part of his story. Just, someone else takes credit. How convenient. Let's have legitimacy. No. That's a lie.
Okay.
All of Norway. All of Norway.
Yes.
Like, we invented it first.
They have a symbol.
We invented the paperclip first for the papers.
Look at this. This is our invention.
And Gina, what's your take on Alan's story there?
Anytime somebody adds an addendum to their story as a go back of who invented the thing that they're saying someone invented before, it just really builds trust in their story.
All right, good point.
But maybe it was this guy, but maybe it was that guy, but maybe it was this guy. So, I know.
History.
Well argued, like any good attorney would argue, trying to create doubt, the seeds of doubt. Carlos, let's have you come out here for your round three wrap up.
What?
And
was that not round three?
Did you do your round three? Did everyone do round three?
I thought I did my round three.
Okay. Oh, you did.
Gina do a round three.
I have a round three.
I apologize.
Gina,
come on up. Gina, my bad.
Before we start, may I ask, is this the last round?
This is it. It's over.
And this is the last.
Because I only had 30 seconds on that one, right? Yeah, so I think that was
30 seconds for Gina.
I got to get to it then. All right. Let me know when to start.
30 seconds begins now.
All right, so he goes with this wrapped cat in the newspaper. He gets on the ferry, but he sees his friend, so he gets a little paranoid, doesn't want to throw it overboard. That was his original plan. So then he gets to work. He puts it in the work closet for the whole day. He remembers to bring it with him at night. He takes a later ferry, so he misses his friends, but they went to happy hour. So he actually ends up seeing their friends on the later train anyway. So he's like, shit, I can't throw it overboard now. So he takes it and he brings it home, and he puts it in the refrigerator where later he goes back to get it, and it's gone. And you want to know why? Because his cook cooked the cat as a meal, but then later realized that he actually left the cat on the train and it was really a leg of mutton.
All right, Alan, what do you think of Gina's 60 seconds worth of information in 30 seconds in that round?
All right, this now I know this is made up. This sounds like the old fable of then the people who were shipwrecked learned the way that soup really tastes, and they found out that they had eaten their own crew members.
No, Alan, it wasn't even the cat. He mixed it up. He left the cat on the thing, and he brought he had a leg of muffin in the fridge. Mutton or whatever.
A leg of muffin?
Mutton. M-U-T-T-O-N. I don't know what it is.
Remind me not to have Gina's cooking, all right?
My point is that he picked up a different package while he was on the train, and he didn't know it because it looked the same because it was in barber paper, and it turned out to be something real that the cook really cooked. It wasn't the cat, but he thought it was cat, and it was freaky.
And Alan, in Gina's defense, muffins were a lot bigger back then. So, Carlos, what do you think about that?
I think Gina has a very good elevator pitch for her wacky sitcom pilot. As far as history, what the hell are we even talking about right now? I don't even know what history that is. I'm assuming it's a relative. I'm assuming it's a Gina relative. It's certainly not related to Clips. Who's Clips? The cat? The cat that the man didn't just throw in the garbage or bury, that he took on a ship and dumped off the ship?
I think
it's a show about nothing. It has to be about something. Okay, a cat has to be thrown off a boat. What's the man say? Kramer?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Clippy.
Great wrap up there, everyone. So with that, now, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, it's time for you to decide and think about who you think the bluffer is. Which one of these fine folks? Was it Gina with her clipped wings story about birds? Was it Alan with the paper clip? Or was it Carlos with the clippers and the barber surgeon of France, but not Seville? And ladies and gentlemen, it is time to put in your guessing and your prognostications for this. And I can see that we have from the audience, they are going with Carlos as the bluffer. So, Adam, I'm going to say, let's find out now, once and for all, who our history bluff for tonight is.
You got it, Chris. I'll have you duck out, and we're going to bring up all of our contestants. And we're going to throw up the bluff cards. Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, just you wait. Oh, man.
We're waiting.
Okay. Who might it have been? What do you think it was, Alan? You think it was Carlos? Or it could have been Gina? Well, I know who it was. You're not going to believe this. Your bluff this evening has been Gina!
What?
This whole time.
Do I have to talk now? Okay. I was lying.
No, we all thought it was true.
I will say,
I would be real mad if it wasn't Gina.
Truth or lie.
Real mad.
Carlos and Alan did call you out, but you did fool the audience, Gina. The audience voted for Carlos.
Suckers.
They're stupid. The audience is stupid.
No, ladies and gentlemen, just for the record, the Carlos Rivera's take on the audience intelligence is not a reflection of the management of History Bluff.
It's just
with that, ladies and gentlemen, once again, let's say thank you so much to our contestants. We are hoping you enjoyed tonight's show. We'll be back next week with another round of History Bluff where we will determine if the truth is as strange as a bluff. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Gina Hunter, Alan Forbes, Carlos Rivera, and once again for our tech extraordinaire, Adam Bellis.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And Chris Barry, and I will appreciate you guys all joining us again on History Bluffs, and we will see you next time.
Thank you, Chris. It's been a pleasure, and we will see all of you next week at another time. Good night.